I think this is a sad moment for this committee and for the Congress. Some might be forgiven for describing the proceedings today as akin to a kangaroo court. What are the elements of a kangaroo court? First of all, the verdict is decided in advance. And the fact and the process are modified to fit that verdict that's already been arrived at. Kangaroo court process involves the distortion of facts, the selective filtering out of facts, controlling testimony, controlling what is available to the court, and making sure that verdict that's arrived at in advance is arrived at, softening up the intended defendant by name-calling, by badgering, by insinuation, by character assassination, by name-calling. All of that, one might say, has characterized this process. If this were a genuine attempt to make sure that the Terry family had closure, we'd have an open investigation. We'd make sure the previous administration's wide receiver program, that was the antecedent of Fast and Furious, was thoroughly examined here on a bipartisan basis. And that the previous Attorney General was called as a witness to answer simply the questions of what he knew and when he knew it. A conscious and deliberate effort has been made here to make sure such testimony is not ever heard. When you exclude legitimate avenues of inquiry, it is for a purpose. And it's for a purpose to make sure that verdict in advance is arrived at. Nowhere have we had a hearing on whether or not our gun laws are sufficient at the southern part of our border to address the overwhelming flow of weapons from the United States to Mexico. I went to Mexico too. And when we asked on a bipartisan basis the Attorney General of Mexico, what's the one thing our country can do to help you? We were somewhat surprised by his answer. His answer was, reinstate the assault weapons ban. But if your intent is to make sure, is political, and to make sure that substantively we don't ever talk about guns in that sense, then you actually warn a witness who dares to go astray in response to a question in saying, an ATF witness, that we need tougher gun control enforcement. We need stronger consequences when those laws are violated. What we never had a hearing about, we're talking about ATF. ATF hasn't had a permanent director in 6 years. Why? Political obstruction in the other body, because they don't want tough gun enforcement. They want weak leadership. So yes, we're brought to this moment to believe that this is all about really a rogue Attorney General who's uncooperative with this branch of government, and he needs to be reined in, and the ultimate penalty we have available besides impeachment, contempt, for the first time ever, needs to be meted out to a man who's otherwise seen broadly as an honorable man, who's put himself into this job, who's fighting all kinds of things on our behalf, from voter suppression to, yes, the drug cartels in the South. And we're going to demean him. We're going to tarnish his reputation, because that's how we get to the President of the United States. And you could forgive the public for the contempt in which this body is held in poll after poll when we behaved this way, when we could have behaved so much differently and gotten so much more done on a bipartisan basis. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.